Kola Oyedoko. He joins me from Abuja here for his reaction to the stock performance. Good morning, Mr. Oyedoko.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Aliyu.
All right, it's good to have you. The stock market has been in red for a couple of weeks now. I mean, you see all the index. You are monitoring the equities. Tell us what is the factor responsible for this negative trading that we are seeing in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I would say that this is not any report season. The quarterly results are not coming out now, and the only thing that is occupying the attention in the markets now is the public offer. You understand, in terms of rights or rights plus public offer, hybrid, and all those things. I think about 4 banks are there now, but because normally this time of the season, maybe sometimes around October, the price now, I mean the markets normally is at a very low ebb until the results start coming in. And I think this is the time for people to buy anyway, to take position and make profits later. Because even if you see the public offers that are coming in, whether it is actual public offer or hybrid, public offer plus right, find out that most of them are trading even at a premium. You understand? Whereas it's supposed to be at a discount from the secondary market prices.
Absolutely.
Am I audible?
Yeah, okay.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
All right. So you see that some of them, the prices are a bit higher than what is supposed to. I mean, the offer prices are higher. But there's no need to fear. I remember about 10, 20 years ago, the price earning ratios of some of the banks are well above 10. Now you can see even First Bank is about 2.6, GT maybe 2 plus, Access Bank 1.1. That means within 1 year to 2 years or less than 3 years, you can recover your investments in terms of dividends. You understand the earning. So I don't think there's anything to be apprehensive about. But generally, the Osha index has been going down. Like maybe in terms of Osha index, maybe market cap, volume value. I need to look at the Osha index.
Mr. Yedoku,
came down from.
If I should butt in here, Mr. if you can hear me, you talk about the right issue going on in the market. You talk about the price disparity, how the prices are at the premium level that some retail investors cannot even, seems to be playing in that market. How healthy is this for their investment?
Anybody can play in the market. You can buy any unit. The minimum unit is best. As much as that, maybe up to 4, even 2,000 naira, you can play the market. Understand? Even if it is public offer, and if it is right, they give you a pro rata basis on whatever the quantity that you already have. So anybody can play the market, even if it is 1,000 naira. You understand? Even for instance, like access that is in 1 for 2, and price is 75. So assuming that you have 1,000, you have the rest of 500 units, 10 times 19.75. Yeah, there are so many people have less than that. So the retail investors can pay, but what we are saying is that the offer prices appear to be higher than what obtains on the floor. That's why some people are even saying, let me buy from the floor instead of buying from the right.
Mr. Yedoko, it's a new week, and of course, what's your expectation for the week? We see the stock in red, like we said earlier. Do you expect that status quo to be maintained, or you see a new market direction for the week?
Yeah, I think the trajectory will be positive. Because even as we are talking now, the Osha index is about 0.34% positive against the negative that we have been experiencing in the past 2 weeks. So when prices comes down to a level that people believe that the prices are okay, people will come in. When you look at Wando, though I might not be able to say very well, so that we will not be marketing or the marketing them. It went as high as 15 naira from about 13 naira there.
Right.
Then when people feel that it's overpriced, it came down, and then it's picking up again. So also every stock, if they believe that the price has come down to a certain level, then people will go to the market, and you see that the market, the Usher index will be appreciating again, will be going up.
All right. So
right?
What we should expect a positive outlook for the market today.
Anybody can buy any of the offer. Zenith Bank is there, GT is there. Zenith Bank is 35 naira for rights and 36.5 for public offer. Those that don't have before. GT is 44.5 and Fidelity 9.25. But the thing there is that some of them are extending their offer period. So that, to me, it means that the offer is not as successful they're supposed to be. But if they have gotten what they want within the 2 months plus, there's no need to extend it. But I think they are good by
Oyedoko, stockbroker, MD, DSU Brokerage Services Limited. I must thank you for your time on Business Daily today. We appreciate your contributions. We're moving quickly now to look at the reaction to take some feedbacks from the question we asked our audience with regards to the plans by the federal government to introduce a new tax, to introduce a new revenue process by the government. The tax law in the country, indeed, quite a whole lot has been going on. The federal government, when it came in, it did set up a tax reform committee to look at that sector. So we look at that. The question is, what's your take on the federal government plan to introduce new tax laws in the country? Well, it's actually a new revenue generation process. We look at the reaction. Nigerians are indeed reacting. Many of them are not really happy with the issue of tax. And Saad Safiu said, a capitalist government will always find a way to make people pay for whatever comes their way. May Allah help us. That is coming from Saad Safiu there. Of course, Sunusi Baba there say, good for nothing but taxing the masses administration. Buhari and Tinubu aren't good for the masses at all. Indeed, this is Tinubu administration, is not Buhari government. Of course, looking at Murtala Dahiru said, we do hope it will be beneficial to the entire nation, which is very, very important. The benefits of all this to the country is very important. Muhammad Rabiu Muazu said, commendable. I will urge them to revert cashless policy to boost EMTL and also revert the cybersecurity levy. They both hold key to prosperity of development. Indeed, that's a reaction from Muhammad Rabiu Muazu there. Of course, going forward, you also say, Nura Ishaku Muazu say, taxation is the most things that the president giving more priority on, rather than to be more serious on the responsibility ahead of him. People are hungry. People are out of school due to financial problems. School fees will always increase uncontrollably. FG should do something about it. Indeed, that is a very, sober reaction there, if you ask me. Indeed, we hope that the government is actually listening and, of course, will take necessary action to review all of these things. Of course, we're going to discuss that topic this morning. The FG plan to introduce new tax laws, overhaul revenue administration processes. That's the topic we are indeed going to look at this morning. And my guest is seated right here in the studio, Mr. Aliyu Ilyas. Good morning, Mr. Ilyas.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. Let's quickly get your reaction to this plan by the FG to change the tax laws. The one we're having, according to the FIRS, was since 1939. That was before Nigeria got independent.
Quite interesting. I think it's quite timely to have a review of our taxation and the way it actually goes. I think I agree with them because having followed the Ayodele Taiwo Committee on Tax Reform, I think it's quite timely, and it's a good one to come with that because, like we always said, that they are reviewing does not mean they want to tax people more. It means they want to expand the tax net itself.
Indeed, expanding the tax net is what a lot of people have been talking about. Which do you suggest increasing the tax rate or increasing the tax net or widening the tax net?
I think widening the tax net is the most important thing. At this point in time, it's quite wrong to increase any taxation at this point in time.
All right, we'll discuss more on that after this short break. Don't just go away. We'll be right back. Glad to have you back. It's the Business Daily right here on Trust Television. Of course, quite a whole lot of issues that we are discussing today. We will serve you the stock market earlier with regards to what is going to happen, what has been happening, and of course, the expectation for the markets today or for the week as well generally. And of course, we're going to look at the topic now that we want to look at today. Of course, the federal government is planning to introduce new tax laws and of course, overhaul revenue administration processes. We've kickstarted that discussion. But now my guest here, Aliyu Ilyas, is an economist. It's glad to have you again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's look at it quickly now. If you look at the allocation to the federation account, federal government is in a way unduly favored. All right, in any naira in the federation account, federal government is taking 48.5 kobo. State government is taking 24 kobo, and of course, local councils is taking just 20 kobo of that. The remaining 7.5 kobo is shared for 4 special accounts: the Ecological Fund, FCT, Stabilization, and of course, Natural Resources. Looking at this sharing formula, which are being managed by FGN, how fair do you think distributions are?
Well, I think it's a dint of discussion and cooperation within these stakeholders. However, federal government have more responsibility. You agree with me compared to other states. In fact, in some states, federal government have intervention. In some local government have intervention, and it's not vice versa. So I think it's ideal if it's like that. In as much as it is being discussed and federal allocation committee actually came together to agree, I think it's okay. Depends on how the responsibility is being taken. Some things are even in exclusive list. They are not in concurrent list. So I think it's now that we are changing the law that we are allowing some things to be in a concurrent list. So for me, I think it's not bad.
You think it's not bad when the federal government is taking more, the large chunk of the allocation, and of course the state government is not taking much. It's
because the way the federation is being structured. So by the time federal government now said, okay, I will not be taking responsibility for some things, and they will now review it. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You could see it's recently that we open some things from exclusive to concurrent, like the issue of railway, issue of a lot of things. So, and if there is emergency, it is state federal government that will go and intervene immediately. So federal government have more responsibility. I'm not saying that it cannot be reviewed, but it should be reviewed with the consent and committee sitting down to review and share responsibility. What I'm saying is that responsibility will determine how much state will collect. Will state continue to take more? Remember that even the state also rely on federal government in a lot of things. You will see recently with these challenges we have, federal government is giving them 10 billion for buses, CNG buses. Federal government is giving palliative. Federal government is allocating trailers of, these are the things that federal government come to do as intervention. And it also comes from this amount. So until we reshape and redesign the structure.
But what would you say with regards to some people's reaction that this system does not promote fiscal efficiency?
When we say fiscal efficiency, are even these states have fiscal efficiency as expected? Until the states increase their own IGR, they have a lot of, that they can take charge of some responsibility. Federal government will now change the way, because if it's still this style that state comes to federal government cap in hand, they will not be able to fight for their rights until they do what they are supposed to do in their own area, be able to shoulder some. Look at Lagos State, for instance, during the Obasanjo time, I just denied them allocation, for years, and the states continue to survive. How many states can survive now without federal government allocation? That is the question.
Indeed, so taxation is the way to go. That is what you're saying. So you're saying that there is effective coordination from the federal government level?
You mean in terms of taxation?
Yes.
Now, when we talk about taxation, the thing is, that's why I want to call this committee that came on board. They have come to review, because tax before, if you even recall part of what he said, they are saying that they should be collecting some tax. Now they will now be 90% will now be given back to the state. You know why? They believe that it is more coordinated. They can collect more, and they will avoid double taxation. Look at a lot of telecom tax. Federal government will collect, state will collect, local government will collect. It's better federal government collect and even remit back 90% to a state so that it will be much more unified and even the.
Then what does that say about the decentralization of revenue collection?
Well, that's why I said they have to come together and say this is what we are collecting. States still have their own revenue, local governments still have their own revenue they collect. But what I'm just trying to say is that federal government still control majority of it because of the responsibility that is.
You don't think that we should embrace full-fledged federalism?
Well, it's expected, but how will the states, demand more and want federal government to still give them more? That's just what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying fiscal federalism is the best way to go, but are we actually there to actually give that power?
Are you going to blame the state who doesn't in any way can influence how the National Assembly or the reforms are actually done? The reforms are carried out by the federal government. If you want devolution of power, just hold on. If you want devolution of power,
right,
it is the duty of the federal government to initiate it through the National Assembly.
Right. That's not correct. You recall that each legislature actually came from states, and they are in the National Assembly. Does federal government have its own National Assembly? No, it is still the one National Assembly, and it is occupied by people from states. And that's why we said governor and the states, people that representative from the states can come together and say, okay, it is time to fight for A, B, and C, and they will take it through that way. And that's why you see federal always have their way with executive.
But some people will disagree with you that at the state level you have the state assemblies.
Yes.
At the National Assembly you have the national. At the national level you have the National Assembly,
yes,
the Senate, and of course the
yes,
House of Representatives.
Yes.
This category of people are representing federal constituencies,
yes,
not state constituencies.
No.
When they are at the federal level, they are more responsible to the federal government.
No. Let's look at the political economy of it. If you are coming from a particular constituency, the best thing for you to fight for is to bring development to that constituency, not to the federal government. You now use federal government to achieve that local development that you have. That's what we are saying. So if there is a trouble in a particular place, it is the responsibility from that state, as you represent that state, to fight for it in the National Assembly. So governors should now lobby all their representatives to project their intention so that they will be stronger. You will also recall, most National Assembly members are former governors. So they understand it better. Go and check. I'm sure about 30% will be.
Let's not lose the sight of what we're indeed trying to look at today.
Right.
Yes, we're still talking about the new tax laws that is being proposed by the federal government, and of course to overhaul the entire revenue generation process. Now, let's look at what we were used to in the past. What the current one we're using was actually handed to us by the colonial government. That was before independence. In fact, look at the stamp duty since 1939, and we're using it up till now. So what sort of reform do you think government should do to, move away from the old ways of doing things and, of course, get things done properly? This government appears to be very, very serious with that by setting up that tax reform committee. And, of course, we are really yet to see the results of their a recommendation so far.
I think we have seen one windfall from banks. I think that's part of their recommendation. Banks now have to pay windfall tax also.
On forex.
No, yes, that's what I'm saying now. So it's part of the reform.
You think that is the best way to go?
Well, let's come to it. Remember the main aim of taxation is redistribution of income. Yeah. So if you look at it from that perspective, I think this committee is quite timely. The only thing we are looking at now is that how will the reform be implemented? Now, we have a lot of things on internet. Let me give an example of cryptocurrency. Do you know how much people are earning from that without paying a dime on tax? Let's look at music that is being streamed online, on internet. How is there any law that capture getting tax from that? I can tell you somebody can raise 1 billion naira in 2 days from live streaming, and nothing comes to the federal government. And that's why part of why the reform is very good. So the reform will now capture income through internet, and which is major thing. I can tell you that even me and you now, what we do more is online. So it is not captured. Imagine 1939. Is there anything like internet? Is there anything like cryptocurrency?
There was not even states. There was no local government.
Exactly. So now I think it's quite timely, and I've read through the Ayodele committee recommendations. They are quite very, very beautiful if it is well implemented. He's a well-experienced taxman, so I think it's a good one. So for me, I think the reform are good. There are quite about 5 of them. We need now to look back to the National Assembly now to do their own bill, because it's going to come in form of executive bill now, right? And it's a good one. In as much as they are trying to expand there's a difference between increased tax and expand it. So if you expand to cryptocurrency, blockchain technology rather, and if you expand to maybe live streaming online, government will get more revenue. In fact, jokingly yesterday I discussed with someone. He said he just made 13,000 naira online now. I said, how much did federal government collect from it? He said nothing. That's how you see.
I don't want us to let's quickly look at this issue. You talk about the windfalls from banks as part of the reforms, recommendation from the Tax Reform Committee.
Yes.
And I am so curious because I've interacted with quite a lot of people who are not really satisfied with that kind of recommendation, because why? We know the kind of banking system that we operate here. Now, when federal government is taking 50% of the bank revenue, you should be rest assured that the burden will be passed on to the customers.
Right. You recall that I listened to Femi Otedola, right? And he made mention. He made now chairman of First Bank. He made sure that the bankers are living large, especially the MDs. From that statement, honestly, it's quite clear. If you look at this economy, I think bankers are even enjoying more, because if you look at their expansion, and that's why when people say, would they be able to recapitalize? I assure you, all of them will meet up. In fact, some of them are in the market already to sell shares.
Exactly.
And beyond that, when you want to recapitalize, it's not only by share. You can even go abroad, do source partner and what have you. Even during Obasanjo, was it? Yes, during Soludo, bank have to merge. I tell you, hardly you see margin this time. Most of them are buoyant.
Already we're seeing Unity Bank, Providence Bank coming together already.
Well, you know what I'm saying? So you won't compare to that time, because they have that capacity now compared to that time. You look at dollar-naira relationship, look at the level at which they are, the capitalization and now. So for me, I think it's a good. You know why I said the bank's own is good one? If you look at bank, honestly, if you look at the configuration of things now, banks are enjoying more. So what government just needs to do is to make sure that they do the consumer protection side very well, because if you go to CBN, they have consumer protection unit. That's why you have to look at it. Are they shifting this burden, or they are paying from what they are actually earning? And you also agree with me that this dollar issue favor banks more, because if you look at it, most of them have a way of maneuvering and make sure that it's to their own benefit. So I think it's right. And
if you say it favor banks more, I will agree with you, because I've had a cause to interact with some BDC operators, and many of them told me that, initially when the CBN was selling FX to BDC operators at a discounted rate, I was told then authoritatively that some banks do come into the market to buy off all those things. Of course, this is in a way contributing to the scarcity that we still have in the FX market.
No, if you trace it back, and that's why I'm having issue with Cardoso and his way of doing things. If you trace it back very, very well, there's always a business, paddy business between banks and BDC. And BDC, because government actually give them a lot of power, and that's why sometimes someone like us will say, please don't give a banker CBN governor. You know why? There's always that romance. But you look at Soludo, he was a pure professional. When he came, he said, no, this is how it should be. And if you look at his reform,
it was today, most of his reforms at the time, from Soludo to Sanusi, we have some of the best reforms in the bank.
Because he's not trying to. So for us, most time we say, okay. And that's why when Cardoso came, he's a banker for a long time. We are thinking, maybe it will change. This is very, very key, because people that have, look at the past one, Emefiele, he was just leaving bank, and even look at Sanusi himself. So these are the things. So we want people that are much more professional, that will look at things from different perspectives.
All right. Do you think our banking sector are actually doing proper banking? Because when you're talking about getting the processes of revenue generation overhaul, you're going to get banks to get involved. They're going to be part of the processes and every other thing. But there's so much complaint that our banking system are not doing proper banking. It's a situation whereby banks keep declaring annual profits of billions of naira every year, yet the MSMEs after tax and MSMEs
are not growing,
which are the primary responsibility of some of these commercial banks, are not making any progress.
During President Muhammadu Buhari, when he introduced TSA, we are so happy that time that okay, this is fine. And you could see that during that period, most banks, in fact Unity Bank, they have to leave Abuja to go to the broad street. You know why? They are not doing, as at then, they are not doing proper banking. They are just doing federal government, banking. And when the law came, most of them left Abuja because you have to be in Broad Street to do proper banking business in Lagos. But the thing is, have we actually get it right? No. If you want to borrow money now, look at the price, the MPR. You don't look at the amount. How many MSME can go to bank and borrow? We will not. It's because federal government is not defining it. Sometime before now, when government will allocate percentage, that this percentage of borrowing should go to small businesses. This percentage should go to manufacturing, so that you now monitor, are they actually giving it to small businesses? But the fact is that even though it's available for small businesses, can we pay the interest rate? That's the problem. So I think federal government need to move beyond where they are now. You recall, even before now, there's a functional agricultural bank. Is it Nakrib so? I remember I used to bank in that agricultural bank. Those people need to be specific sometimes, make sure they have focus. If ideally every bank should have a percentage, even for agricultural, sector, maybe 5% of your borrowing should go to before
profit
farming. People will embrace farming, because we know that we have 5%, that must come to us. We embrace, but the way it is now, I think.
But before you can actually achieve that, you need to deal with the corruption in the economy.
It's a big challenge, and you recall, even the one that was supposed to help us was the political borrowing, which is anchor borrower. Most people that actually got it are political, farmers. So
many of them are even yet to pay back.
Where would they get the money back? They've used the money. That's already. If it's correct farming, by now it would have moved. In fact, I can tell you that during President Buhari, during the Akogu, those real farmers who got it, you see that they move in troop to urge. They have more money in their pocket, but things are changing.
Indeed. Now you're talking about. We made mention of MSMEs, which is the bedrock of every economy, and the federal government is having a plan to change the tax system, overhaul the revenue processes. Yes. Of course, most of the taxes come from some of these MSMEs. All right. Currently, we are not having a healthy economy. We understand government wants to begin to implement these processes from next month, which is a few weeks away from now. Now we don't have a healthy economy. What sort of impact? Because the economy is already burdened, the business are already going through quite a whole lot. There's hardship everywhere. Many of them cannot even pay for the electricity tariff. The cost of doing business is very high. The FDIs are not coming in. And of course, you're coming up with this kind of, we don't know what it's going to look like, but we're already, given what we've seen so far from this government, we could actually feel that it may likely be not different from what we've seen so far.
Right, I think there will be a difference, because I read through the recommendations. Farmers and MSM will be excluded. That's part of the recommendation of Ayodele. It's when
not the entire MSMEs. Depends on the number of staff that you have.
Well, the fact is, if they can exclude people with 50 staff, what again? If you are MSME and you're having 50 people working for you, that means you are supposed to scale up beyond MSME. In fact, you don't need to be called MSME once you have 100 and above. So if they actually implement that as they say,
well, the question is how many MSMEs have 50 staff?
No. We're saying less than, So
what I'm saying is that if you have 49 staff,
it starts from 2.
Yes, from 2. I understand. If you have 49 staff as an MSME owner, it means you'll be exempted from tax.
No, that's what I'm saying now.
50 and above, you have to pay.
That's even the better. You know why? If you can have 50 staff, that means you have more income. So if we say majority of MSME in Nigeria, 70% don't even have up to 20. So if you don't have up to 20 and you have tax free,
you don't think we should look at the payee?
Well, the payee, no. When you say the payee of the tax itself,
exactly. You're talking about pay as you earn.
When you talk about the payee must have a buoyant when you have more staff. That means something is actually happening.
Now, what I'm saying is that if you have there are quite a whole lot of big corporations, there are big businessmen that don't pay tax. All right, many of them earn so much in terms of revenue.
That's why we
talk about banks, we talk about the likes of Dangote, talk about the likes of so many big conglomerates, but that are in a way evading tax.
Well, that's left for the Ayodele. FIRS
and his team,
because it's a cheat on our part when big businesses are not paying tax and small businesses are. In fact, most of them are on free trade zone. You could see even Dangote, as big as it is. The oil business is on free trade zone. So you could see even Chinese companies have 2 free trade zones in Nigeria. But then the thing is for to be equitable, you need to tax who you are supposed to tax, not tax. Even from what federal government is even saying. From part of why I said I love it. One of the recommendation is that people that are collecting less in civil servants, maybe the 70,000 naira there will not be tax for them. You know, this is how beautiful that is already. So if you earn 70,000 and there is no tax on it, it's direct. They remove it directly, but they say no, we are not removing. So perhaps if every month they're supposed to remove 7,000 naira from your salary, and they don't remove it, it's a plus for you. You have more purchasing power, and it's going to affect the economy of Nigeria. So for me, if you look at the recommendation, very well, it's going to be a positive one for Nigeria.
Indeed, we expect a legislation on that as well, just like you mentioned earlier. But you talked about a very critical sector, cryptocurrency.
Right.
We're looking at a way to earn revenue from that sector, but yet we're introducing regulations that is not in any way palatable to the survival of cryptocurrency.
No, I don't agree with that, because I think Nigerians have a gap, which is regulatory gap. If you look at NITDA, look at CBN, FCCPC, SEC, these four people are like coming, find a way to regulate cryptocurrency. I want to suggest for federal government, please introduce an agency that will focus on blockchain alone. So that once they focus on it, it's a combination of finance and technology. They can actually come, because you have to be in the cloud to monitor crypto and blockchain technology. So we need people that will be saddled with that responsibility only. Imagine loan sharks, FCCPC developing regulatory for loan sharks. How does it, when we're supposed to have a financial combined with technology organization that will look into it and bring regulation and make sure that we capture, because if we can actually capture cryptocurrency properly, well regulated, federal government will have no reason to stop it, because they will be earning more from it.
Indeed. So what sort of regulation are you expecting? Because the FIRS chairman did talk extensively about how cryptocurrency, you made mention that somebody made about 13,000 naira from blockchain trading, and yet you did ask him and he said he did not pay even a dime in terms of tax to the federal government. So what sort of regulation or manner do you think a federal government can actually handle this and indeed earn so much in terms of
If you look at my postulation, I said there should be a new agency. Take it away from CBN. CBN have a lot to do in terms of economic stability, right? NITDA have a lot to do. SEC has a lot to do in terms of share and what have you. Get a separate agency that will be expert in this area to regulate it. How do they regulate it? Regulate what comes in and what goes out. But as it is now, we don't even know a lot of things, because once you block people from this area, they find a way to open it in another area. Let them operate, but regulate them. Register who manages it. Know your customers. You know what I'm trying to say? Know people in that business. So if they earn 1 naira, you are aware they earn 1 naira. If they earn 2 naira, you are going to collect 0.0 something % of it. But if you know how much trading is going to that area, people pay through that blockchain platforms now. So government needs to be there, and need to be there fully. Not CBN will do some part, NITDA will be doing some part. How can you even launch such app or something in Nigeria and nobody is aware of it? That's the problem. That's why a loan shark will come and launch it and nobody is regulating. So I think government should have a separate agency, that will look into it.
Talking about having a separate agency, are you not creating more responsibility for the government?
Well, life is evolving, so you have to move alongside. There's a lot of agencies that we need that is not even relevant like this one. So government, things are evolving. I know it's much of a technology inclined. It's evolving every, so you need agency that will focus solely. So as the thing is evolving, they're also there. Not that they'll be dragging and following.
You made mention of NITDA.
Yes.
And so many other agencies.
NITDA, FCCPC, CBN, SEC.
And so many of them. Now, all of these agencies, their responsibility in a way overlaps sometimes.
Yes.
With the exception of maybe SEC, their duty overlaps. Not in all areas. Understand, but there is an Orosanya report that is before us.
Right.
Now, government is planning to, implement. They've said it's going to be implemented, but we don't know how soon that is going to be. But again, creating more agencies or implementing the Orosanya report, merge some agencies and then create a department in all of these agencies. Right.
I can tell you that Orosanya report cannot have limelight again. You know why? As at the time Orosanya bring that report, we have like 300 agencies. As of now, we have over 1,000 agencies. In as much as I would say we should have bogus, we can reduce it, but that thing does not stop an evolving and emerging technology that we need to take. We still need to have an agency to monitor and to regulate and protect people on blockchain technology. Very, very key.
Okay, so what should be the immediate action now of the FIRS now? Because there's going to be a gaps in, I mean, getting revenue. There's corruption in between, especially when you are not fully, automated, or you're deploying electronic system. So, don't you think we should, in a way, deploy electronic way of tax collection in all our agencies? Talking about customs, you talk about IRS itself, and so many other revenue generating
that is why
agencies.
You recall that FIRS target this year is 19 trillion. And to get that 19 trillion, it's going to be a dint of hard work on their part. And that's what will aid them, is that technology they want to bring. And that's why they are saying now they want to bring technology. Recall that if somebody is selling akara on the streets, you see people, maybe street urchin will just go to him and say you have to pay. They'll give them ticket that does not have record. So imagine if I know that I'm going to pay, and I pay and I receive the alert on my phone. I have the receipt. When you come, I just open my phone, and the payment is going directly to the government coffer instead of ordinary people that doesn't have anything to do. And that's why they are bringing up those things that they are bringing. Honestly, when I read through it, I think it's a welcome idea, and I urge Nigerians to just go through it. In as much as they don't increase our taxation, they only expand the process of the collection, so that we won't have third party or non-state actor collecting tax without remitting it to the federal government. So for me, I think it's a good one.
Well, it's a good one. What kind of process do you suggest that should be? Because you talk about it's not going to be an easy,
it should be unified,
tax.
It should be
it's not going to be an easy
process.
tax, because the human element in it, if you want to eliminate it completely, you may not be able to actually achieve that.
Right.
And knowing the fact that there are still some bad eggs that want to mess up the process.
That's why we need a unified taxation process. If it is unified, if you collect my tax in Abuja and I'm driving in Kano, somebody stop me, I'll just open my phone, see the receipt of the payment, electronics payment, and you yourself, you check, is this thing captured? Simple as that. And that's why unified taxation is very, very key. Globally, that's what people embrace, and we are in the age of technology. And I can tell you, if there's anything Nigeria can do better now, it's fintech. We are very, very good in financial technology. So I think that's what they have looked. But if they didn't go back to National Assembly to change those laws, it will be pretty difficult. If they didn't go to National Assembly, because the law is stopping them from implementing it unless they repeal those laws and bring out new. In fact, they are repealing like 2, and they are bringing 3 new or so to make sure we have a seamless.
So you don't think that we need to, in a way, maybe amend the Constitution, Section 1621 of the Constitution, which gives the federal government so much power to regulate all of these things?
Well, the thing is,
I know there's going to be an executive deal that will be submitted to the
there will
National
be public
Assembly.
hearing.
Exactly.
So during the public hearing, public should be interested in this. You know, we should go there and make. If I have my time, I will also judge, so that we can really look at it during the public hearing and share our own view.
All right. So in 30 seconds now, what sort of information do you expect to be in the executive bill that will be sent to the National Assembly?
The one that will permit the federal government to charge more on electronics dealings, such as crypto and what have you. The one will also empower them to also, like stamp duty, to change the process of stamp duty and what have you. But in a nutshell, we want to charge our senators and our House of Rep to do things with human face, so that in the long run we will not be shortchanged in the long run.
At the end of the day, okay. Aliyu Ilyas, an economist, I must thank you for your time on Business Daily.
Thank you for having me.
Very interesting conversation we're having here. Well, with that, it's a wrap on the show today. We'll be back tomorrow for more. I am Yusuf Akogu.